Hey everybody, this is Blue
and Delta
from Yugioh Anime Games, and today we're bringing you another tier list. This is us ranking the most iconic signature monsters from all the Duelist Kingdom participants, as well as Seto Kaiba, who was not officially in the tournament, but he was there for his own personal reasons and played a couple of duels, including against Pegasus.
You will not see Bakura or Taya here. Now, we're going to use 4 criteria broadly when we look at these cards. It's going to be their raw attack and defense values,
their effect, if any,
their ease of summoning, how easy could you get them out,
and then deck compatibility, how well this monster works with their deck or how well their deck works with this monster.
So to get us started, Flame Swordsman, Joey's card. Alright, so its stats are nothing to write home about. In Duelist Kingdom, it was a normal monster, so it's as easy to summon as anything else. It doesn't have an effect, and I guess it gets supported by, like, Salamandra.
He did carry some support for it.
I would say it's ranking a little low in all these categories. So maybe C tier. I'm not sure it's the worst, but it's probably the bottom of C tier.
I think it's a solid C, not quite B. And of course, when Joey gets Red Eyes really steps up his game.
Yeah.
But until then, he hung on to Flame Swordsman, and
you'll see we've Red Eyes here for Rex.
So moving on, Pumpking, the King of Ghosts. Not super great stats considering what we have in this lineup here. Like old Duelist Kingdom stuff, I mean, it was easy just to drop, even though it's normally a tribute in the card game.
Its effect was even more powerful in the anime than it is for us, and it's very compatible with his deck, being that his deck is full of zombies. I would say that kind of mixes together to be a B. It's definitely a distinctly strong effect. Its stats are serviceable. I think that's a good place for it.
I think B is definitely where it belongs.
All right, so then we have Barrel Dragon. And we did Barrel Dragon instead of Malzoa for Keith.
Because Malzoa came out first and then got taken off the board, and Barrel Dragon replaced it. And it makes sense. I mean, Bandit Keith was an American, so he's flipping coins while he's playing a card game.
So Barrel Dragon's stats are pretty good. 2,600, better than Dark Magician, and you can drop it easily.
And, with its effect, allowing you to destroy monsters, it really puts itself up there, I think. So I think we could argue it's an S tier, really. It was very strong.
Destroying monsters is very strong in Duelist Kingdom. And, it's not the most compatible, but it ranks highly across the board. All right, Red Eyes Black Dragon. So 2,400 is not bad in Duelist Kingdom. It's not quite Dark Magician or Summon Skull. It's easy to summon. No effect, of course. And Rex did have Dragon Nails to support it, so it was, a little compatible there, even though he had a deck full of dinos.
Yeah, it's interesting that, Rex carried his strongest monsters were dragon monsters, even though he was the dino guy.
Do we think that comes together to maybe B tier? I think the no effect and not being the most compatible is kind of what hurts it here.
As much as we love Red Eyes, I think it's a solid B tier at the end of the day.
Castle of Dark Illusion. So we chose this for Panic because, well, it kind of was his key thing versus just those normal monsters that he summoned out.
He made it sound like this was his big thing to support the rest of his monsters. It shrouded them in darkness. Ultimately, it was his downfall, though, because apparently if you take off the flotation belt, the whole thing falls down.
Stats aren't great, though.
Yeah, Duelist Kingdom really showed us that if you can't see what you're attacking, it causes a lot of problems.
I'd say it is lacking in a couple areas, and that maybe comes together to C tier, but maybe C tier above Flame Swordsman.
I think this is definitely C tier material, especially if you don't use the Yellow Luster Shield to trap everything under your weird magical castle.
And if you guys enjoyed this video, or top list, tier list, character decks recreated from the anime, you have to subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Alright, next up we have Gate Guardian. This monster represents both Para and Dox because, of course, they play together and they have the same monster.
So its attack value is something to behold. Very strong.
Its attack stats on the card surpass even the mighty Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Now, it wasn't all that easy to summon. You need the 3 monsters to stick around on the field. It had the effects of those pieces of Kaijin, Sujin, Sanga, Thunder to block attacks. So I guess in the anime, it did kind of have an effect there.
I feel like this really is S tier in terms of all the signature-esque monsters that are here. So not all the strongest, but like I said, signature monsters. And just how Duelist Kingdom worked. I mean, this thing was a powerhouse and really needed Joey and Yugi to pull out their own really powerful combined monster to battle this.
Mako's Kairyu-Shin. He didn't play a lot of strong monsters, guys.
And he did not play Legendary Fisherman until Battle City, so
stat-wise, this is right there with playing Swordsman. I mean, it's not very compatible with this deck. It's as easy to summon, and it has no effect. It's not ranking that highly, I don't think.
No, I mean, we understand that, like, for Mako, he doesn't quite have anything as boss or iconic as some of these characters. You know, for Duelist Kingdom, we felt this was at least the best that he had. And, you know, he did play smart, though, with using the water effect. So, you know, it's hard to say that his deck didn't really support this card, but why would you bring in Umi when the tournament you're going to already has Umi?
Very true. I would say this might be our bottom tier card, though. Just not that much going for it. At least Flame Swordsman has support.
Harpie Lady Sisters of one My Valentine.
So you can summon the Elegant Egotist and the Harpie Lady. It's attack and defense. I mean, it's got more defense than attack. It's not too bad. Supported by her deck, right? She has a lot of cards that work with it.
Her deck was a Harpie deck, so it did...
Having it helps Harpie's pet dragon. So I think it would maybe be the bottom of B tier. The compatibility here is what bumps it up for me.
Yeah, I mean, she had cards to work with it. It worked with other cards, so it didn't come with a lot of stats. You couldn't just drop like any other card, but, you know, it fit her deck well. Next up is Thousand Eyes Restrict. So for Pegasus, we kind of debated because we know we're talking about like iconic cards. Well, iconic monsters, you know. Tomb World is probably a more standout card for Pegasus because that was his whole, or most of his deck theme, but it seemed like in his Shadow Duel with Yugi, this is where he really wanted to get to, is these illusion-themed monsters. So we went with Thousand Eyes Restrict.
So we know it doesn't have great stats. It does have a very powerful effect. You basically game warping.
Yeah, I mean, this card's effect in Duelist Kingdom, just like it is in the TCG, this card dominated a format that to this day is still referenced from time to time. Goat Control.
Not all that easy to summon. You need to make a fusion with the ritual. And I would say it's not all that supported by his deck either. I mean, it works in tandem, but I'm going to go out on limit since it's A tier, but I probably put the top of A tier. Its effect is really powerful. It's not doing that great in all the other categories.
Right. This card is not easy to drop, and outside of its effect, it doesn't have a lot of redeeming qualities.
So for Weevil, we have Great Moth. So its stats are slightly better than Dark Magician. It's nothing to write home about.
And it wasn't even its final form. I think this is a solid B tier, though.
Yeah, it's not the easiest to summon, and it's compatible with this deck, but I think B tier makes sense. All right, moving on to Yugi's Dark Magician, the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense. So surely its stats put it into S tier, right?
Its stats definitely take it up. It's
But
summonable like any other monster, like a vanilla.
No effect. And it is compatible to Yugi's deck. Most of his cards stand on their own, but it gets help from Magical Hats, Mystic Box, Book of Secret Arts. I would say it's maybe actually top of A tier over Thousand Eyes Restrict. I just think the stats not being that great and no effect is what just gives it that notch down for me.
I think it's a solid A tier. And this is also before Yugi was really running support for that Dark Magician too.
Yes.
So in a potential Battle City tier list, we might see the card rank higher.
Who
But
knows?
for Duelist Kingdom, you know, A was a good spot for it.
All right, and the last one is Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon. The stats are strong.
You can drop it like any other vanilla.
I would not say it was all that supported by Kaiba's deck. Definitely somewhat compatible with it, and no effect. So we have a couple things that are good, not great here, but I mean, it's such a strong monster to just drop without needing to go through, you know, what you do for Gate Guardian. I think it might be S tier. 3,000 is a lot in Duelist Kingdom.
I definitely agree that 3,000 is nothing to laugh at, despite the fact it does not have an effect. I mean, 3,000 was pretty much the ceiling for Duelist Kingdom, which means, yes, the Gate Guardian, I would say, broke the ceiling.
Yes.
Because even Yugi's strongest monster, Black Luster Soldier, just ties with Blue Eyes, and that needs more to get out. It's a ritual.
Yes. I think I'm very happy with it in S tier, and I like the way this is looking. Don't you, Blue?
Yeah.
So hopefully you enjoyed that. Thanks for coming along as we rank these signature key Duelist Kingdom monsters. Thank you so much for watching.
If you're a fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, then check us out because we have tons of content, including top 10 lists, tier videos, modern decks, and classic decks.
And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell.